他们将我捧上云巅，也让我从头来过。不让我回来的，我一意孤行；要让我折服的，我踏入光明；让我无路可走的，使我惧怕的，反要让他们畏缩。他们一直说个不停，因为他们害怕洪水猛兽，那就比猛兽更凶猛，比洪水更滔天。势将到来的，终会成苦；汹涌而起的，终会证明。既然暴风将至，那就去把那些不服的、不屈的、不可磨灭的、非赢不可的，通通化成风。这里是我们，我们就是风暴。
Welcome once again to the Spring Festival Super Weekend. We're in the last day of week number 2, and we're wearing all blue and white for the theme of the weekend. I'm Mazel, joined by Ox. Are you ready for a finale to this Super Weekend?
I am more than ready. I mean, look how great these graphics look, by the way. Can I just say, looking real good. I think it's sick. We have Xiaohu playing later, and we have the Year of the Tiger. It's just all coming together.
It's all working out. Plus, after Series 1, you got a little surprise on our hands for the people that stick around after the first series. So we'll see how that all goes. We got to talk about the performances we saw yesterday in the games because it wasn't as long of a day as the first day of this Super Weekend, but it definitely took its toll for sure on a couple of these teams, as we did see LNG continue their undefeated series streak as they took a 2-0 over Team WE, a contested match between JDG and FPX, and EDG just keeping things rolling as the world champions.
Yeah, EDG looking very dominant. It's kind of what we've come to expect. LNG, it's just unfortunate for WE because it's a hard matchup, but LNG and EDG now both are 4-0. The middle series is really the talking point, though. JDG managing to beat out FPX, and FPX, they actually won the first game, looked really convincing, and then just started to flop. There were some critical errors. I mean, game 3, the enemy Corki ended up being 4-0 at like 8 minutes or something because of some failed dives. It was just not clean, and is the reason they now have a loss on the board.
Yeah, and it's definitely a hard loss to take in a series like that as well. They were looking so bright and burning with such passion, at least so far in their early season. But hey, that's what Phoenixes are for. They get reborn from the ashes. But that brings us to the big topic of what we have going on in the standings right now. We still have some undefeated teams, especially looking at V5 and BLG, who still have a bunch of games to play to catch up with the other teams. But EDG, LNG, the top of the table seem to all be solidifying themselves, while we still have a bunch of big name teams looking to pick up wins.
That's the thing with yesterday. We saw EDG and LG able to pull away from FPX, who are now 3-1. JDG, that win was like super impactful, right? They're now just there in 10th place, 2-2, managed to keep themselves in, in a decent spot compared to if they'd end up being 1-3. But today's match is what we're focused on now. RNG against ID, two storied orgs with plenty of accomplishments between them. And then we have V5 against Top Esports, our match of the week with Rookie up against Knight. Some banger matches coming up.
Absolutely. You took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, every single one of these matches is sure to be a bloodbath, and it's just all excited to be able to kick it off, and especially with all the festivities we've had already this weekend. But we're talking about this first matchup. We have Anyone's Legend taking on Weibo Gaming. Talking about Weibo Gaming a little bit more, I love it, and maybe it's not a big deal to anybody else, but the wholesomeness coming out of this team is amazing, especially from Hwanfong. But it's all about Wholesome Brother Gaming over there, my friend. And we do have a little bit of a clip to tee us off here and show a little bit of that wholesomeness coming from Hwanfong, so let's listen in.
Got the Shy on your roster. If they can move towards this bottom lane, the inhib is open. There's a mini.
Nice.
Man, my team is very good. My team is very good. Man.
Stepping forward with another point. Short onto the board. They're 1-0.
You get to hear a little bit of Juan Fong there, and I love the editing skills of our team. My goodness, just making it happen. But it was the Demacia Cup show up. It was the smiles. It was the absolute happiness radiating from this team. And yes, it's not Sword Art playing a majority of the games at all so far in the LPL, but it is Juan Fong. It is that wholesomeness. This team, I'm buying a ticket to anything they've got going here, Ox.
I think that's the thing, right? Teams can be good and they're obviously going to attract fans, but you love to see when a team are just having fun, right? Even if it's not like Weibo are at the very top of the standings, they haven't had flawless gameplay, but they've been pretty good, but it's just the fact that they look like they're enjoying themselves, they're having a good time. And Huang Fong on that clip, it just had me cracking up. It was so sweet.
And in that Demacia Cup clip, they like came out on the stage like hugging each other. Like it's just awesome to see. I love it. But we do got to talk about some serious standouts from this team, and a majority of the reason why they're having so much fun. And it is their duo carries. It is the Shy who has found a resurgence in 2022, and Juan Fong, who we've been talking about this entire time.
Yeah, I mean, Huang Fong has looked really solid, right? Third in a range of stats as being a strong late game carry for the team and a great option to lean towards. But, you know, we have to talk about the Shy. Considering he had a Ghost Teleport Grasp Victor top game, which went, you know, as you would expect, he still has been doing a remarkable amount for his team. Huge amounts of damage, highest in damage per minute, second in damage percentage. And his Gwen has honestly just been absolutely insane. I mean, it's what we expect from the Shy, but even so, it clearly illustrates that Weibo have a great top laner who they can rely on as a carry in those team fights to be a threat on the enemy backline, but also a great backliner themselves in Huang Fong who can just carry if he's left unchecked.
And it's just the stability it seems like both these players bring to the table, but also the rule of thirds it seems for Juan Fong there. But it has been incredible to watch this team, and we get to see a little bit of that action here with the team. When things don't look their brightest, they still find a way to pull out wins.
And I think the main thing that's been really solid from Huang Fong is finding that sort of ideal distance whereby you're remaining safe, but you're still able to participate, still able to get damage down, pick up kills. Clips like this where he ends up getting a quadra kill where, you know, he's close enough to constantly be getting damage out, but still ends the fight full XP and unthreatened. And then, honestly, I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to flat out put it down. Gwen is broken. Gwen is disturbingly broken.
You heard it here first from us.
Yeah, the Shy definitely makes Gwen look a little bit more broken than everyone else. I will say that much. Absolute massive threat and issue to be dealt with when he's on the enemy team.
And we're talking about wholesome, but it just feels good to see the Shy finding success again, right? It's been a little bit of a rough time for the man. He still finds a way to shine either way, but to be able to see him shine as well as his team is what makes me happy.
Absolutely, and if he stops picking as much things like Ghost Teleport Grasp Victor top, then maybe he'll shine even more.
Hey, I'm thinking he's just going to make that one shine itself. But this fight in particular for me was very, very rough for Weibo Gaming. But they turned it around on its head through some insane damage through that Gwen you're talking about for the Shy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just having multiple carries. Because you see at the end, Huang Fong gets threatened, right? They're jumping on him. It leaves the Shy in a position to sort of strike back. And I think it's really valuable when you have a team that has like multiple sort of players you can put resources into who will effectively carry, multiple people to rely on later. Because it means even if one does have a rough game, you still have someone else. Even if one is targeted, you still have someone else. And it'll be interesting to see how the draft develops for these teams and where they look to focus. But I think when we look on the other side, anyone's legend, I think there's one player in particular who stands out for me.
It definitely is one player indeed. And it is Betty, who, you know, I think is ready to take on that carry role here. And it shows in his early spring performances.
And he's been playing a ton of Jinx, right? And yesterday we kind of saw when teams were hitting upwards, right, having success. In fact, it wasn't even just yesterday, it was the day before as well when RNG dropped a game. It was kind of like the Jinx, right? Jinx is really becomes an issue if you don't deal with it, you don't focus it down. You can see her just start to ramp up, pick up kills in those team fights. And Betty has been honestly just stellar on the pick. So it'll be interesting to see if they let Betty get the Jinx. Interesting to see what they do to shut it down. But I feel like if he goes unchecked, this is anyone's legend's greatest sort of win con.
It is, and you see the early game focus there for him, right? Early kills, solo kills, trying to be the biggest carry you can. And it all comes together when you do get Xiao Hao focusing this bot lane, when you do get that influence from Cho as well.
Yeah, I love that. Just the Gale Force that hits the Naught.
So
and
confident.
Force to finish off Gala. But yeah, and I think if you make mistakes like that, you know, if you commit to skirmishes that you don't factor in the strength of the Jinx to clean up in the early game, that's where you can see Betty getting fed. That's where you can see him then be a dominant force in the team fight. But honestly, you know, this is against RNG. This is Garland Ming.
It is.
And we saw Betty and Chocho having some solid 2v2 performances, right? Actually managing to win out in this skirmish in game 3 a couple of days ago. And then another thing, honestly, this is something I just love to see from Jinxes in general. I feel like it's a sign of like a player who's very experienced on it, which, you know, Betty clearly is, but just being able to snipe from across the map, pick up targets, be present in a fight, essentially when you're not even there, that really for me is like the slickest thing. And it's an easy way to pick up 3 kills, 3 gold.
Yeah, it's the cherry on top, and you see right there, Wade definitely not a fan of that cherry, but it is impressive to see, and that's where you're looking at tonight. The big matchup for us being this bot lane, right? We talked a lot about Huanfeng, how he's a key, you know, motivational factor, it seems, for the team, but he's also a huge carry for the team. And to go against Betty, to have that that ADC matchup down there, obviously influenced by a lot of other things, is going to be so crucial for this best of 3.
What's interesting is, in the LPL generally, we've seen the supports lean super heavily towards these engaged supports, right? You have your Leonas, your Nautiluses, things like Thresher there as well. Whereas in other regions, like for example in the LCK, Karma is like first picked, right? It's first picked or banned even. Lulu very high priority, a lot of Yumi. We hadn't really seen that recently. And then in the past couple of days, we've actually seen a lot more enchanters coming in, right? We had games where it was like Lulu on one side, Yumi on the other side. We've seen a bit more Caitlyn left open with Luxes coming in. We've seen Karmas as well. And it's interesting to see this shift, this dynamic change. I still think we are going to be seeing a lot of those engaged supports, don't get me wrong, but it's just interesting to see that we're getting a bit more of the enchanters come out. I think Hung for FBX was one of the first to be like frequently picking enchanters in the right scenario, but I feel like we could be seeing more and more, because when you have these strong scaling AD carries who are such a threat, having an enchanter who can bolster that can make a massive difference. The thing is though, you need to have your engaged sourced from somewhere else.
Yeah, that's where I wonder, especially when you're looking at that early pool, when you're looking at the first couple bans, what we see. I would expect a lot of those primary, those high priority ADCs to be taken off the board, as those are what seems like it's going to be focused on at least. But still, like we were talking about earlier, the Gwen for the Shy, the aggressive early junglers, the Xin Zhao, the Viegos, those kinds of things are going to be key in this series. And as we see the players getting ready for the draft, we get to see them on our screens. It just gets the blood pumping. It means that we're that much closer to finally seeing these two teams do battle.
Yeah, and I mean, we were talking about like the Gwen for the Shy, the Jinx for Betty. I think these are picks you just have to get rid of, right?
Absolutely.
Especially Gwen. I said it before, I'll say it again. I think this champion is just straight up broken. And I think, like, you know, Jace has a decent answer in the laning phase, but Jace kind of needs resources, right? You have to play through Jace to sort of make him flourish. And I just feel like if you leave the Shy unchecked on Gwen, you're just going to have this massive issue in the late game. The most disturbing thing I'm seeing is when it's Gwen, Xin Zhao, and it's like the Venn diagram where you just can't attack anything within that zone. It's so painful. So we'll see how the draft pans out. We'll see the priorities that come in, but ultimately I think targeting these things will be pretty valuable here.
And yeah, I think so as well. And especially, you know, those big picks we've obviously seen throughout the last 2 weeks, and the very, I feel like, imbalanced presence we have in the LPL right now. There's a strict dozen champions that are picked almost or banned almost every single game, so that was definitely a fun one. But I do want to hone in a little bit more on a player that has been really proving himself, but we haven't necessarily talked too much on, and it's on. And being able to see him step in right in the place of Sword Art and really have an influence on the team, on those, you know, semi-engaged, semi-enchanter champions, having a little bit more of a diverse pool. That's also going to be a little side note for me as we go into this draft and seeing exactly what they want to prioritize for on as we do get into game number 1. Ox, I'm so excited. Weibo Gaming on blue side. It is Anyone's Legend on the red side. Renekton LeBlanc bans for Weibo Gaming for the first 2. TF Caitlyn banned away by AL.
And I think AL, honestly, pretty comfortable on the red side, right? Because it means you can get counter pick support potentially. It means you have less issues to deal with. For Weibo, interesting, we see the Tryndamere ban come out. Potentially don't want that as a counter pick to cause issues for the Shy, give him a bit more freedom to pick what he wants. So we'll see what this last ban ends up being for anyone's legend. Could look in multiple directions. I feel like Gwen's probably going to get picked in the first 3 if you don't ban it now, but they're going to go for the Aphelios instead. We'll see what Weibo look to prioritize.
And I would like to honestly see if anyone's legend maybe puts a little bit more eggs into the maple basket. I mean, they already do so, right? He's got a 70% KP. He's got almost 32% damage percentage for the team. So this mid matchup is going to be very influential on the rest of the team. But I wonder how much more influential we'll see. How many more eggs into those baskets we will get, as it was the first pick Corki and the Zinzao Jinx double lock-in for anyone's legend.
Yeah, really strong team fight. No surprise to see the Jinx coming out for Betty. Now, Weibo, you have a multiple choices here. The Gwen is something you could pick up here if you really wanted to prioritize it early, if you're confident in this blind pick ability. But also there's things like support pick can be really relevant. Thresh may be open and available and maybe a problem. It looks like they're going to go for Trundle in the jungle, so something that can match this Zinzao in early skirmishes and duel him, and they are going to lock that Gwen in. No real surprises there. Now for anyone's legend, you have choices. You can pick a support, ban away counters, give Betty as much eggs in his basket, or you could go for something in the mid lane. Victor makes sense, or if you want to counter the Gwen, something in the top lane. I feel like it's kind of like, which do you want to answer, or do you just want to put your eggs in the bot lane basket? And it looks like they might be leaning towards securing that Victor. They want a good answer to the Corki, something that can take priority early, scale well, and give a really solid backline for anyone's legend. I expect though, anyone's legend 80 carry bans can make a lot of sense in this situation, right? You know, the pool is kind of limited. 2 are already taken off the card, well 3 with 1 being picked. For Weibo, those supports, you really want to limit that pool of availability to Chocho.
Yeah, you absolutely need to. I know everybody's so excited about this new matchup between Corki and Victor here. It's very exciting, very neck-breaking.
Revolutionary.
Revolutionary. Oh, man. The glorious evolution. We are into the second phase of bans. Jace banned away by Weibo. They're on the blue side. Karma, that support focus going in for AL.
Yeah, so the Jace, talked about it a little bit before, it is one of those matchups that are actually good into the Gwen, so they really are trying to secure the Shy as much advantages as possible. Anyone's legend, ban away the Karma, suggests that maybe they're leaning towards a Lulu, right? Karma does well into Lulu because she's also an enchanter, but on top of that has the ability to win trades and poke out. I think if you look at anyone's legend, they kind of get the feeling, okay, right, they're putting so many eggs into the Shy basket, maybe they are just going to play a sort of more weak side oriented bot lane, trimming out the Ezreal in this situation. And Weibo kind of call out anyone's legend on the Karma ban by banning away that Lulu. So it'll be interesting to see. I feel like you could just take top here for anyone's legend, and then you can leave your support for counter pick. I think that would make a lot of sense in this situation. So we'll see what options they come up with here. Jack would be a good answer in the 1v1, but if you just focused on team fight, Kennen makes a ton of sense.
We were talking yesterday about the game of circles. Apparently anyone's legend has bought into that one here. I do really like the Kennen here to set up their team fight, especially in the later game where it seems like they're opting into. But Weibo just have their ideas set in stone, it seems like. They are insta-picking a lot of these, and they insta-lock in the Zyra Khan.
Yeah, very committed to that one. It gives them good engage tools, which I think is important here, right? You have, you know, a strong carries and sort of the Gwen in the Corki, but you want something that can get on top of the Jinx, and the Khan provides that. The laning's pretty solid as well, but I think anyone's legend are kind of fine with this situation. They end up picking the Nautilus, which is obviously going to provide that single target lockdown. But, you know, they've got strong team fight. They've got Betty on Jinx. I don't think they can really ask for 2 more. And Weibo, they've got decent answers, right? The Trundle to the Zinzao is good. The Shy is going to be a problem later on. They have the package to play around. But I feel like anyone's legend are pretty happy with how this draft has gone.
Yeah, and it's going to be a lot about, you know, weathering that early storm, if there is one, and keeping themselves on track to set up in front of objectives, make sure they're not getting caught, you know, with their hand in the cookie jar or anything along those lines. And that's why I think, you know, the Nautilus for Chocho is huge to round out the composition. You need a little bit of that engaged front line. You need that decision making to be there to target call and pick apart the team fight comp and pick apart a lot of these high damage carries for the side of Weibo.
I think ZZ's role is going to be so impactful here, right, on the Kennen, because the Nautilus is good at, you know, single target engage. The Zinzao can jump in, share, but if the Kennen can get in a flank, that's when things can really take off. The fight can start, you can find the momentum, Betty can start to get resets. That's where things can go well, because my one concern is Angel will be able to do quite a bit of poke from a distance. That can cause some issues for Maple, for Betty. And on top of that, Huang Fong, we'll see what build he goes. If it is the lethality build, he can obviously snipe quite a bit from a distance, but these are sort of safer backline carries, right, for Weibo. If you have backline threat onto a Corki and a Xayah, they both have sort of tools to deal with that.
They do indeed. Well, the tools are going to be on the table here, and they've got to find a way to use them. We've got our first game of the last day in week number 2. The Spring Festival Super Weekend continues. Anyone's Legend taking on Weibo Gaming.
How wild does it do that? It's almost 2 weeks done already.
I don't even want to think about it at this point.
It's just, I mean, it's been rapid. I'll say that much. But we've had some banging games and expect more here. And we do, I'm going to note, we have the Airy coming out from Huang Fong. So probably going to be that lethality. I have to hold the thought. There's actually
the grand entrance on the Maple. Flash Bird for the mid laner of Anyone's Legend already.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good start. That's exactly what you want, right? Put some pressure on the Victor in the early levels. Means you can't have much agency. If he steps up too far, you against a Trundle, right? If the pillar's behind you, not much a Victor can do. What is the Shy doing?
What is he doing? He's just having a good time. He wanted to see some of the scenery, walk around a little bit, you know, maybe feed the duckies that are up there, and he's gonna walk all the way back around.
Yeah, this is the scenic route. This is the scenic route back to lane.
Oh my goodness. I need like a clip of this of just like some nice subtle music as the Shy walks through the jungle, and then he gets the better end of the trade against ZDZ.
Yeah, I mean, that's just Gwen, right? Don't toy with Gwen level 1. I don't think ZDZ was expecting the Shy to come from there, even though it's on the question mark ping, and actually had to bin a health pot, so a little bit unfortunate overall. I've got to go back to my point before. We have the Airy from Huang Fong, which means it's going to be that lethality Xayah. It means it works at a bit longer range, right? You have a bit of poke as well with it. So a lot of poke threat on his backline of Anyone's Legend that they have to be a little bit concerned about. They kind of need to start the fight to break that up. But already, talking fighting, we're seeing a lot of action here.
They get the grand entrance back, just a little trading between these supports. Their health bars, definitely what they're paying with right now. They have the trading back and forth in the top lane as well. Do you want to note that we have opposite side pathings for both these junglers? So a little bit of a different idea for either side.
Yeah, and it kind of, I think especially with Xiao Hao going towards the bot lane, it's kind of the expectation for Anyone's Legend, right? They really want to put the eggs in the Betty basket. ZDZ, he's going to have a fun time trying to poke down the Shy, but he's essentially just there to be a force in the team fight. And, you know, as much as he's harassing him down, this is Doran kill, this is the second win. Like, Kennen's AD is so low. That was one of the nerfs they did to him, right? When he was like that menace in the top lane. His base AD is like 46 or something like that. It's like you auto the Shy and he probably heals more HP on the fact that you autoed him overall. It's really kind of depressing at times.
That's a little sad. I guess we'll see as if that actually becomes a factor in the early game, but the Shy is making it happen right now because he is literally proxying the wave against ZDZ. And I don't know if it's true, but ZDZ is probably in his comms like, guys, I need something up here. I need some kind of help.
Anyone's Legend, just cut him out the comms. Just don't listen to him. Ignore him, right? Don't even bother, man. He's on it. You're on your own. Literally, just mute the top. Mute his pings. You know, he's like assist pings spamming. But we see, you know, Xiao Hao is putting some pressure down towards the bot lane. He's going to pick up the Krugs, the trade-off on either side of the map. And as much as they're not probably going to be able to dive in this situation, it's showing where the team are putting their resources, right? It's showing where they're putting the pressure down. And it's allowing Betty and Chocho in this situation to play really aggressive, right? They're able to push up. They're able to harass under tower a bit. And on the other side, that was the reason the Shy knew he could go for that proxy, right? You don't do that if your jungler's not there, if the enemy jungler isn't on the other side.
Yeah, and that's what I love about this. Both junglers kind of realizing the state that they're in and taking advantage of that. Staying away from each other and making sure they feel confident. It will end up in poor SOFM going down to his Krugs and realizing they aren't there. But he is back onto the map first as Xiao Hao's resets just now coming through.
Let's see what they want to do here. Remember, Maple no flash, but we haven't seen anything really come through it. And that's one of the issues with the Corki is he's not the most active laner, right? He can't really do too much to threaten the Victor in the levels. Has actually gone for the very early Hex Drinker. I have seen, you know, early-ish Hex Drinkers come out just to deal with the threat from the Victor. Once you have that available, you can contest the wave a bit easier and you can't really chunk you that hard. but it's still very early to see, right? He doesn't even have a tier completed yet, and he's picking up the Hex Drinker.
Yeah, I was actually curious about that when I saw it completed in his inventory. We'll see how that works out for him, when he'll be able to get that tier, when he can start stacking up and delaying that late game scaling. But On taking a bit of damage on a trade while he's trying to get the poke and trying to get a little healing for Hanfang.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of back and forth in this bot lane, but I don't really expect too much, because the problem is, right, if Nautilus goes in too heavy, the feathers stack up, you can get bursted. But on the other side, if On goes too deep or just gets caught by some CC, gets trapped by the chompers, it's very easy to see him getting going down as well. So a little bit of a delicate lane for the supports, and I think that's kind of the thing when you have, in quotation marks, squishier supports.
Yeah, very true. And when we see, the setup up here in the top lane, I was actually pretty proud of ZDZ. He's gotten back into the farming situation. Wave's a little bit wonky for him here so far, but at least he's feeling a little bit better than getting proxied early on. But SOFM definitely wants to put some more hurt into that basket.
Yeah, I mean, it's just allowing the Shy to do what he wants, right? And the Wave is such a bad spot for ZDZ because it's pushing him to the other side, because he has to overextend the contested, and he doesn't know that SOFM is reset, so he has to kind of play with the threat that constantly, okay, I could die. And he just has to kind of be okay. We've seen the other side, everyone's going to secure that Dragon, pick that one up, easy as can be, and it's kind of, again, showing the presence of the team to lean towards that bot side. We haven't seen too much roaming to the supports, is a thing to note, but I do expect them to be looking for resets fairly soon and to lean towards the top side and look for the Herald, right? Typically what we see, supports will head to that top side of the map and look to set up around that Herald. It's going to be up in about a minute 25, and both of them are the sort of champions who can have a pretty big impact in those skirmishes.
And at this point, this is where we were putting a lot of focus into the bot lane 2v2s, the bot lane ADC position as well. But we also were talking a lot about the jungle and how these are the facilitators for these teams. These are who typically gets the ball rolling, right? And in this game so far, 7 minutes in, we haven't gotten a super big influence from either jungler. We talked earlier, they were kind of separating the map a little bit. No big ganks have really been pulled off. It's just been a bit of a farm fest. And to me, that signals that AL are actually fine with that. They are looking for that scale. They are looking to get to that late game team fight potential.
I think that's the thing, is both teams have late game elements, right? But also we've seen teams both focusing like opposite sides of each other. Speaking of focusing,
Get the storm coming through, but the Shy, it looks like he's going to be just fine.
that's pretty big though, right? Because you just burnt that Slicing Maelstrom, Herald up in 30 seconds. So if Wave will want to prioritize that, I feel like anyone's actually not in the best position to contest it. Either way, they do get the Ghost from the Shy, which is a pretty short cooldown, so not that big of a deal. But yeah, I think the main things we've seen, Xiao doesn't really want to contest the Trundle because of the strength of the Trundle in the skirmishes, and he's kind of just been happy leaning to the other side of the map. We've seen the junglers not interacting with each other, put a little presence down the lane, still showing their face. But other than that, yeah, it's been a quiet game, and I think that kind of happens, especially more so in this meta. Both teams feel confident in their scaling.
Han going for a little bit of how do you do to Maple in the mid lane, as Rift Herald being taken by SOFM.
And I think this is the right call, right? You know they don't have the Slicing Maelstrom. You know that they really aren't going to team fight without that. I think you'd be pretty comfortable. They do have On move up to be in the vicinity, but he knows no contest coming in. We've just seen Victor reset with no mana. We know he doesn't have TP. There's no reason to stay right now. You can just head straight back bot lane, and Wave will get a pretty easy Herald off the back of that.
And it's so funny to me because something that 100% stands out for me about Xiao Hao is how aggressive he has been early on in the season. And it's showing another side for me for anyone's legend here, taking this one calmly, knowing what their win conditions are and playing towards those, right? And not overstaying, not making these kind of crazier plays that do end up in maybe not the best circumstances for them. So it's honestly really, really impressive for anyone's legend. But the thing is about these kinds of situations, you don't know how strong you are until you actually fight. You don't know how good it's going for you until you actually get to those key moments.
Yeah, I mean, it's not what we typically see, right? LPL is very much with the expectation is that heavy fight, skirmish focused, a lot of battling. And I think particularly, sometimes when I imagine like the Enchanter picks coming in, we'll get a slower early game, but we have like a Nautilus and a Rakan, and neither's really had too much happen. So it feels like both teams are just, comfortable to scale up. But I think another thing is the laners' respect, right? When there's been scenarios where they've been forced to overextend, they've kind of like played it safer, maybe given up a bit of farm. Like ZDZ, he was zoned off top, has gone 10 CS down against the Shy, but it was like, right, better to go 10 CS down than to die.
Yeah.
Is kind of the thought process. You know, I'm gonna say I kind of agree with that, right? I think that's correct. Technically correct.
Yeah, I guess it depends how much CS you go down, right? Because then you start getting to the hard math, and I'm not going to do that because I'm a play-by-play and I don't do math. We can figure that one out, as it does actually look like honestly pretty aggressive towards the bot side duo down there, but the vision game is strong for Weibo Gaming.
I think that's important, right? You want to set the vision beforehand. You want to have that ready and available. You want to make sure you're not dealing with anything untoward. And also, at this point,
Slices nail
maybe overstaying.
He does have a lot of damage in the tank, though. Getting stunned up here, though, and the trading back and forth. Needlework going out. ZDZ trying to flash out of it. He might have the damage to back this up here as well. It's going to be a tight 1v1. Who's going to get first blood in that moment? But we got another little fight going on in the mid lane. It looks like ZDZ won that one. First blood, anyone's legend, but Chocho needs to get away. See if Betty can back him up here. Weibo Gaming desperate to make something happen, but won't find it.
Honestly, I'm sad we didn't get to see the end of that 1v1. It looked pretty sick, and we do see ZDZ win out. You'll actually see the Shy just bought Merc Treads now. Obviously, something you'd love to have had against again in that fight. Makes a big difference to see Emma on the stun reduction, but I feel like it was kind of ZDZ got that big ult off, got the burst down on the Shy, and it became a bit precarious, right? Because the Shy started to stack up, and I'm going to hold that thought. We're seeing an engage here.
On looking for the grand entrance here, if he can get it. But those traps, those jaws are going to be nicely utilized. There's the Feather Storm into the recall. And Xiaohao's getting so low on, trying to dip, dive, duck, and dodge. There's the Mega Death Rocket, does not connect onto the low health members. Those rockets are hurting Fishbones, definitely doing some damage. Juan Pong with the feathers backs them off.
Yeah, you see Betty ramped up, but the thing is with Xiaohao not having his ultimate, he got basted out so hard at the start, there's really not a ton they could have done. Now, this is Herald being thrown down. They know that Xiaohao has to reset, but I don't feel like Weibo are that strong, right? The wave is coming in a little bit late, but they really want to get these two plates, and they want it to go to Wong Fong.
Key for Juan Fong to get this gold, to try and get a little bit of these plates under his belt, and especially to try and facilitate this carry, right? You have this double marksman composition we've seen so popular in the yeah, I was gonna say I think he backed too quick.
Yes, so gets it.
All right, well, you know,
let's go.
Best laid plans of mice and men, my friend, but we'll get that 1v1 on the top side.
Yeah, so the critical thing is the Shy's already used the W, right? And it's obviously it's not amazing against Kennen, because in this fight you end up pretty much within range of what it be. The resists it gives are pretty substantial, and as a result, the Shy is trying to turn this around, because in the long fights the Gwen is strong, but ZDG just keeps getting his procs off, manages to stun him again, and without the Merc Treads, that is really substantial. So eventually it's going to get to the point where the Shy can just kind of dominate that 1v1, and that's where ZDZ needs to look for team fights. The fact he gets that solo kill is pretty huge. Extra gold in the pocket and showing that he can hold his own. And
already showing the influence that a Kennen can have in the game as well. You'll love to see it. First dragon secured by Weibo Gaming, so it's 1-1 in terms of dragons, but it is the Chem Tank dragon coming onto the Rift. SOFM trying to back there in the tri-push, but has to flash away from the dredge line. Meanwhile, top lane, we're going to dive on, has made his way all the way up there, and the Shy gets his revenge.
Some of that more proactivity that we love to see on making his presence known top. Gets that kill, gets some revenge for the Shy, but that means they know they're weak on the bot side. Anyone's Legend zoning them away. SFM no flash, and Chocho has ultimate, so got to be a little bit careful here.
We also do have Maple on his way down here. Looks like he's going to be able to make it here first. His Angel's on his way as well. Mid laner going back their way. Yeah.
Kind of popped out on Xiaohao for no reason. Also, actually something I want to take away. Chocho's gone Aftershock here, which I kind of understand because it makes you a lot bulkier. When you enter a Xayah, it's very easily a one-shot. But you enter a Trundle, right? I don't agree with the decision when you could have gone Glacial Augment, which would have been fine.
Yeah.
And then, because the thing is, like, Trundle can always just ult you and steal the extra resistance.
True. I want to keep our eye on that and see how that kind of works out. I will say, looking at the top lane, I love that our observers kind of pointed it out. The Shy ended up getting 4 plates up there, right? With a little bit of help of teammates, and able to also extend the CS lead now and kind of run away with it as we see that fight going out to the top side.
Yeah,
in
I
the
mean, a
replay,
Fed
at
Gwen,
least.
I already talked about how disgusting Gwen is. A Fed Gwen is just painful, and it is going to be that big threat in the team fight, right? You have Angel, who's going to be doing a ton of damage from a distance. You have Huang Fong, who with his lethality build will actually be able to put down some pressure, longer range than Xayah typically, but DDC again, this is
They are
insane.
just focusing up here. They want the Shy to get ahead. They want those carry Gwen performances, as the depth charge was actually used on in the bot side.
Yeah, so they only get the ult from ZDZ, but that makes it so dangerous for them to step up to the tower. Really easy dive threat without that available. On the other side, Weibo doing their best to defend. Oh,
Package onto Maple SOFs right there. Angel just almost solos him out. The Chaos Storm does dissuade it. Mega Death Rocket on Wanfong. They really want this tower. First tower blood still up for grabs, but it's going to the Shy, it looks like, as DDZ is fully pushed off the tower. And there's the gold in Weibo's pocket.
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, Huang Fong and On doing a great job defending here. They use a lot of the tools. They end up burning, flashes, the ultimate from Huang Fong, but they end up actually being able to keep the tower alive long enough for the Shy to take top and get that advantage. So some pretty strong play, and it's the power of Xayah Rakan, right? Really hard to threaten them with a dive. Rakan's so mobile. Xayah obviously has the ult to buy time, and as a result, it's a lead accrued for Weibo, now 2,000 gold ahead.
And it's looking nice.
There's a problem.
What's the problem?
There's a problem, right? Angel just used his package. What is in 2 minutes?
Hey, come on, that's a
Mazel.
deep dark hole. We're not gonna go down that conversation.
What is in 2 minutes, Mazel?
You know what happened to Lyric on Friday? You don't want that to happen to you, Oxar.
Hey, it's game one, right? I have 3 best of 3s today. It's game 1, and I am seeing packaging management, right? I am. It's a Chemtech soul as well, right? So the strongest dragon soul and
Yeah.
Angel's mistiming package with the dragon.
It's all part of the
cool,
plan.
it's
All right,
cool.
let's see
It's
how
cool.
let's see how this plan unfolds. All right, Ox. We'll see.
It's just
the
one
master-
dragon.
Yeah.
Surely he'll sync it up for the next one, right?
Surely,
So-
surely. I have
surely,
no doubts.
right?
We shouldn't even check
No
in on
doubt at
that
all.
because they're absolutely going to do that. I do want to check in, though,
100%.
because we have item completions coming across the board. We have a lot of mythics across the board, but we also have that lethality, Xayah at least, with that Eclipse completed. Very, very interesting on that one as Betty takes the first tower for anyone's legend.
Yeah, they managed to finally get the tower on the bot side. It took a bit of time, but eventually they able to get it. They are setting up some decent vision control around this dragon. I think, you see it's a Chemtech soul, suddenly becomes a much higher priority to contest it. And the thing is, that Angel's not going to have the package for it, so it does give you that advantage. Weibo, though, you're going to slam Herald mid, and they're going to use that as a way of forcing themselves into the river, right? Enemy team has to respect that. Enemy team has to deal with it. And so now you see On moving in, getting some wards down, clearing out some vision.
No!
Yeah, the Herald. Shelly doesn't even get to slam into the tower, but looking bot, Maple could be in trouble. But it looks like they're just going to be happy with the tower.
Just have a little bit of deterrence there in the crown to dissuade a lot of that damage in the early follow-up at least. But bottom tower will be taken by Weibo Gaming. Mid presence, mid priority is still important as both junglers are in the mid lane trying to make sure that happens. And both teams 100% setting up around this dragon, as it will be the second dragon for either of these teams.
I was thinking, like, how good is Shadow Queen against like a Corki who's gonna poke you? But when that poke does like 700 damage, like it's worth it. Honestly, man, what a disgusting champion I see. It's gonna be the Poke Corki build. I said Coke Porky.
Oh my god, I love it. I don't know if I can walk away from that one. That was too good.
Coke Porky.
You're only the first game of the Nine Dogs. That's the problem.
I'm losing it already.
Losing it. But so is On as he gets the depth charge utilized onto him. Not going to be in any trouble after that, but here in full force is anyone's legend in front of the dragon pit.
Yeah, and then
They actually get it. The second time might be the charm. Not going to get it that time, though. The dragon started up by anyone's legend. You have the entirety of Weibo Gaming except for Angel on the top side. He's going to TP, but it might just be too late. The dragon goes over to Xiaohao. Can they get out of this? When Xiaohao's overextended himself, the Crescent Guard doing some work, but Chocho has overextended himself as well. And that's a big pickup for Weibo. They lose the dragon, but at least they get the pick.
Yeah, and they want to translate this into mid tower. I think they would not really see this as too weird at the moment, but then get the mid tower, at least they're getting a bit of an advantage there. Anyone's Legend happy to be securing the Dragon though, but 3,000 gold behind and losing their mid tower here, it's definitely got to start to feel rough. I think the big thing, right, Angel stayed top for so long before TPing. Look at the farm he has available, right? It's 1946, 237 CS, a 40 CS lead.
Yeah, that guy's running away with it. You saw once he joined the fight, it's immediately turned tails and run for anyone's Legend. Also helped out by the Chem Fog in the enemy jungle. They were able to play so aggressive, but this replay is telling to Weibo Gaming's strategy.
Yeah, I mean, Weibo just managed to shut down the Nautilus and then move off. They know they can't really chase in the choke, right? You're against Victor, you have the Jinx traps as well. It's super dangerous, but they're happy just to take the kill, take the tower. They're going to be a while away from the Dragon Soul, but they have a pretty significant gold lead. And if you look at the items, Manamune stack for Huangfeng, and we also have Angel about 60 stacks away. So closing in on those big spikes.
A lot of bodies up towards the top side at this point, as nothing, no objectives at least on the other side of the map. I have a Baron on the table. I don't know if either team's going to want to play for that, but the Chem Fog really bolsters this aggressive playstyle for both these teams, right? You can continuously be aggressive. You can continuously invade in the enemy jungle with a lot more safety than you would typically.
It also makes it really dangerous, like dealing with a Gwen or a Kennen, right? When they're going for sort of flanks and they're just chilling the Chem Fog. Like, who wants a Kennen to have stealth? How frustrating is that?
It is pretty frustrating, as to point out, out of his comfort zone a little bit in that one. Do have a second item completion coming across the board for a lot of these members, but key pieces are the Mirror Mana completed for Huangfeng. You got the Rapid Fire Cannon now for the range for Betty. And the ADC is starting to pick it up here, but there's the fight. Talking about picking it up. You got the Crescent Guard in there for Xiaohao doing tons of work, but Chocho's already dead. On trying to get away. On survive, but there's the Slicing Maelstrom to change it up a little bit. The Feather Recall is huge, and Weibo Gaming are running away with this fight. Maple pops the Chaos Storm, but it's not doing any damage. It just doesn't seem to stick. And the Shine Angel are trying to make it stick here as the rockets were raining hell, but it's still Weibo coming out with a 2-for-1.
Yeah, Weibo's going to take that one. Slight advantage is enough for them. And they have the damage. Potentially look for the Baron. They are going to head over. Xiaohao is alive. Just reset. They need to get here quick. This is going to burn down fast.
They got to boost themselves down this way, as they are not going to be in time. Already halfway down is the Baron, and Weibo Gaming will walk away with another neutral objective here, unless the Mega Death Rocket. No, it's not enough. The hopes and dreams rested on that rocket for anyone's Legend, but it will not be so. The Baron power play is initiated for Weibo Gaming.
And it's now a 7,000 gold lead. Massive at this point, honestly. We can see a replay of how that fight panned out. So it was just the initiation kicked off by Weibo, right? Chocho goes in, Aftershock is there, but he gets absolutely shredded. And remember, he gets the resistance shredded by the Trundle, so kind of the downside of taking that rune. And then we finally see this turnaround from ZDZ, but Huangfeng doesn't actually go down. And then Angel is now in position just to move forward and start laying down damage. Really difficult fight for them to take. And I feel like, you know, they were kind of in a situation where, okay, we've lost Chocho, let's try and turn this around. But it's one of those things where, because you lose a member, like, let's fight this, and then you just lose more. And now the Baron's in Weibo's hands. Now they have this massive gold lead. Yeah. I'm really concerned, right? You look at the items coming out from their team, you look at how strong this Corki is, how strong this Xayah is. It is scary. It
is, and it's the entire team performing well, but especially Angel. You know, something we talked to in the latter parts of the setup for this series. But I said, yo, is this where we see a difference for both these teams? Is this where we see a bit of focus towards that mid lane? And Angel's running away with it with 2-0 right now. Has the package available for him as well. And they are pushing in these towers.
They have the Dragon up in 30 seconds as well, so I think should have the package still available for that. He did sync it up. We love to see it.
He did it. Ox, are you proud? Are you a proud papa?
I'm very happy.
All right,
very
I like
happy
it. Oh my God, under tower, On goes in. On is just obliterated there after the tower shot. But here comes the Shy. He's trying to make a performance just like the last time around, and he's doing so. The package is in. Angel's going ham. Angel's killing everybody. A triple kill for the Corki, and Weibo Gaming have put anyone's Legend in the dirt.
Man, that was down to the wire, like bordering between int and a huge play, and Angel finds the angle, gets the triple, the shy setup, and this should just be them closing out the game.
They are pushing forward. They are aggressive. They are ruthless. And Weibo Gaming ain't taking any prisoners today. Anyone's blood to try to put up a futile attempt. Yes, they get Angel, but they lose the game. And game number 1 of this best of 3 goes to Weibo.
Honestly, all I can say is Gwen not balanced, Corki not balanced. These champions make it so hard to team fight, right? The safety of the Corki, the long range poke, the Gwen being such a force to be reckoned with. You saw the Shy was diving behind the inhibitor tower, just not caring at all. And really, this feels difficult for anyone's legend, right? They got the jinx that they wanted, but I feel like they just gave over too many strong tools to the other side.
And it was the change up of focus, it feels like, the lack of that early proactivity we typically see for both these teams, honestly, and going into a more relaxed game where Weibo Gaming just passively, it felt like, won a lot of that game through the gold, through the CS, through the lane management that they had.
Just decision making, kind of in a lot of scenarios, to leave Angel top to pick up waves and such. I think as well, like, I see a Cork in the enemy team and I'm like, okay, you can't really pressure this dude that hard because he's so safe. He scales so well. You have a Gwen in the top lane with the Kenna matchup. Like, ZDZ even solo killed a Shy.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't matter, right, at all, because he scales way too well. Guangfong with that long range. And that's another thing, right? The engage potential for anyone's legend. I said they were super reliant on ZDZ to find flanks, but it's not even like that powerful because you're into a Corki, you can dash out, you're into Guangfong, could drop his ultimate. I just think, right, I'm gonna be real, I think Corki and Gwen are just broken, and I think if one team gets both of them, it's just so hard to win.
For me, it was like the tie-in of that, right? You do have those very strong picks. The fact that they picked up the Trundle for that classic matchup in the Zinzao. On the back of it all, you're still running this double marksman composition. And if, and the one time we did see it where ZDZ got on the back line, it worked out. But if they get back, if they get through that front line, the blade collar is always there. The feathers are always stacked up. So as a last line of defense, Huanfeng does have a lot of damage in the tank. And it was just impossible for them to really find any advantage that they could, you know, seemingly utilize to get a win.
Yeah, I think you need a scenario where there's lanes you can punish easier, because I feel like the problem is, right, Victor is this sort of, he has a good matchup with a Corki, but he's scaling mid-mage, right? He's not the most active pick. Bot lane was struggling to make things happen against the Zyra Khan. Top lane, you saw them go top, and just the Shy just runs away. You need a lane you can play through heavily, and less just easy, safe scaling tools for Weibo if anyone's legend want to win this.
If they can pull back anything here going into game number 2 to get us to 3 games in our first series of the night. We're going to step away, take a little break, but don't go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, JDG just kind of got stomped by EDG, but I gotta say, LPC looked pretty good. Like, he brought out the Samira and actually got a couple of solo kills on Viper.
Yeah, and on Samira of all things as well. Like, I can't really get my head around the meta. I don't suppose you have any tips or tricks that you can help me out with.
Oh yeah, this guy, hang on. This bad boy.
That's a kid's toy.
It has value, bear with me. So this is what us color casters use to figure out the meta. Do not tell the other play-by-plays. This is the secret unit that we have to use. Alright, let's start off with an easy one, right? Where does Caitlyn go?
Bot.
That's right. In the bot.
Nice.
Alright, now, where does Thresh go?
Support.
That's right! Right there beside Kate. Let's go. Alright, we're 2 for 2 now. This is a bit of a tough one. Where does Tryndamere go?
In the top lane?
That's right! In the mid lane!
Yeah, boy.
Alright, nice job so far. Now, next one is Zed. Where does Zed go?
Mid lane.
That's right! Jungle! And this last one is my favorite. Where does Addy go?
Mid lane.
That's right! Top lane! He's a world champion, you know!
Nice. That looked good. That looked good.
勾勒出情话，笔锋浓转淡，平生描绘的牡丹，一如你柱状，冉冉檀香透过窗，心事我了然，宣纸上走笔只字各一半，釉色渲染仕女图，韵味被私藏，而你嫣然的一笑如含苞待放，你的美一缕飘散，去到我去不了的地方。听金色的言语，而我在等你。炊烟袅袅升起，隔江千万里。在平地树根里放前朝的飘逸，就当我为遇见你伏笔。听金色的言语，而我在等你。月色被打捞起，晕开了结局。如传世的青蛙，字字故事美丽，你眼的笑意。色白花青的锦衣，跃然于万地，临摹松贴落款时，却惦记着你。你隐藏在窑烧里千年的秘密，气息里犹如绣花针落地。帘外芭蕉惹骤雨，梦幻惹童女。我路过那江南小镇的等你，在泼墨山水画里，你从墨色深处被隐去。听金色的言语，而我在等你。炊烟袅袅升起，隔江千万里。在平地树根里放前朝的飘逸，就当我为遇见你伏笔。听金色的言语，而我在等你。月色被打捞起，晕开了结局。如传世的青蛙，字字故事美丽，你眼的笑意。听金色的言语，而我在等你。炊烟袅袅升起，隔江千万里。在平地树根里放前朝的飘逸，就当我为遇见你伏笔。听金色的言语，而我在等你。月色被打捞起，晕开了结局。如传世的青蛙，字字故事美丽，你眼的笑意。素被勾勒出情话，笔锋浓转淡，平生描绘的牡丹，一如你柱状，冉冉檀香透过窗，心事我了然，宣纸上走笔只字各一半，釉色渲染仕女图，韵味被私藏，而你嫣然的一笑如含苞待放，你的美一缕飘散，去到我去不了的地方。听金色的言语，而我在等你。炊烟袅袅升起，隔江千万里。在平地树根里放前朝的飘逸，就当我为遇见你伏笔。听金色的言语，而我在等你。月色被打捞起，晕开了结局。 惦记着你啊，你隐藏在窑烧里千年的秘密，气息里犹如绣花针。
我觉得这个 TP 改动对上路影响挺大的，现在是可以摊线推完一波再回城，之前是会被卡。我觉得打他不要选到长手打长手就可以。
Welcome back to the Spring Festival Super Weekend. We are getting into Game 2 of our first series of the night, Anyone's Legend versus Weibo Gaming. And what an incredible performance from Weibo Gaming to kick off the night, to kick off these festivities, because it was one player in particular. I know I was shouting about in the cast, but On performing beautifully on that recon.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for me was when Anyone's Legend tried to be aggressive around the bot lane, and we saw On and Wongfeng just not allowing that to happen, right? Really negating Anyone's Legend. And I think that was kind of the thing for me, was that they didn't let them apply that pressure, didn't let them snowball, and eventually Weibo just accrued advantages, right? Built up farm leads, got to the point where they're scaling picks, which is dominant.
For me, it was also the fact they were so confident in locking in that Xayah recon, the fact that they felt, this is fine for us, we're going to perform very well. And also the fact that On just made a trip to the every end of the earth on Summoner's Rift, it felt like there, and was really having an influence on every single lane.
Yeah, I've been praising Chocho for being quite proactive, but really On just set the bar, right? Going up top lane, setting up the play on CDZ, looking for constantly aggressive windows, in team fights, providing that CC, that peel and disengage, protecting his backline while also providing threat to either side. It felt like he kind of did it all, and I had some concerns, about the recon. I was like, potentially this is a pick that can be popped by Victor. Potentially this is a pick who can be like CC locked down by Nautilus, but honestly, seemed pretty chill for him.
It definitely did, and you love to see it, especially in the first game of a best of 3 series, where the entire team of Weibo Gaming just seems on point and firing on all cylinders, if you will.
On point? Yeah, I get that. I caught that one.
All right, thank you. I'm glad you backing me up here. I heard silence. I was like, uh-oh. It was too far. I stepped over the line. But talking about over the line, how do we find that line for Anyone's Legend? How do you find success in that early jungle? Xiaohao being that early aggressive jungle we know and love. Maple being a mainstay mid lane. But Betty, the highlight that we put at the beginning of the day, not having that live-up performance that we would want him to have.
I think the problem is, right, the early game was so passive. Nothing really came from it. And it was kind of like death from 1,000 cuts from Weibo, right? Just building up these small little incremental leads. And then when it came to the team fights, they just dominated. But it wasn't like, we didn't have them just crushing, getting tons of kills in the early game. It was just very much accruing those small leads, picking up plates, picking up towers. And for Anyone's Legend, I think they need a lane they can play through aggressively. They wanted that to be bought, but the problem is you have the Victor made, right? Victor wasn't really ever in a position to roam down and help set up dives and such. I think you need a bit more, and we actually have the same sides going through, but this time, oh, what a change, what an adaptation. They banned the Gwen. Beautiful.
But I'm just saying, the recon's still open, and On is looking for another MVP performance. The Renekton LeBlanc Tryndamere banned away by Weibo. That TF Caitlyn Gwyn banned away by Anyone's Legend. It was the instant Corki first pick for Weibo. The instant response is the Aphelios Xin Zhao.
Yeah, interesting. We're not seeing the Jinx from Betty, but something, the thing with Aphelios is he can be a bit more proactive in the early game.
Yeah.
So opting for that angle on this one, looking for something that can potentially be that lane to play through for the side of Anyone's Legend. We'll see what Weibo opt to go for in this situation. Last time they took the Trundle here and then the Gwen. Obviously can't take the Gwen right now, and they're just going to go for the Xayah and the Rakan. So they're really happy with how the bot lane panned out. They're happy that they were able to defend on that side of the map. I think for me, if you're going to punish that bot side, I want to see something from Maple where he can apply his presence down bot, be more proactive. And Vex, that is the sort of pick, right? You have strong presence in lane and you can come down bot. You fire an ult from miles away and you can easily connect and look for those dives. So I like this adaptation from Anyone's Legend. I think it's solid, and we'll see what else they go with here. I think you can start throwing a ban towards that Trundle, maybe, is something that really shut down Xiaohao's aggression, but also definitely can start to ban away the Shy.
And I'm just excited to get to see Maple for the first time on the Vex for the split. Seems just like a Maple champion. See how that all works out. But honestly, the willingness from Weibo Gaming to run it back so far in the draft, It shows some serious confidence there from the squad, and honestly deserved confidence from that first game showing we had of them, as the Camille banned away by that Weibo Gaming squad, Bragus and Jarvan the bans away by Anyone's Legend.
Yeah, so just, you know, limiting these sort of engage options that can cause potential problems for the Aphelios. We see Weibo looking at the Camille, looking at potential things that could be an issue for ZDZ on that counter pick, right? Once again, they can set that up pretty easily. We expect the support to come in, pick number 4 for the side of Anyone's Legend, and ZDZ will really have his